You ever notice how every episode starts because you refuse to just live your life?
Oh, I live my life, dude. I just don't blindly accept user agreements without scrolling.
That's not brave. That's annoying. You know what normal people do? They wake up, go to work, pay bills, and don't assume reality is broken before breakfast.
Yeah, dude, normal people also microwave fish in the break room, so let's not use them as the gold standard.
I'm serious, dude. Not everything is a conspiracy. Sometimes things are just things.
Yeah, and sometimes things are billion-dollar machines smashing particles together under Switzerland, while scientists casually say stuff like extra dimensions and unknown effects.
They're scientists, dude. That's what they do. They explore ideas.
They explore ideas with machines the size of cities.
Yeah, and yet somehow I still went to work this morning and reality was fine.
Was it, though? Or did it feel fine just because you didn't question it?
Here we go.
You ever remember something being one way, then find out it's always been another?
Yeah, dude, it's called being wrong.
You ever notice how many places you pass through every day that aren't meant to be stayed in?
Hallways?
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Relax, dude. I'm just saying, if reality were glitching, you'd be the last person to notice. You'd apologize to it and keep walking.
Yeah, because fighting the system doesn't pay my mortgage.
Yeah, and neither does pretending the system loves you.
I don't need it to love me. I just need it to work.
That's how every horror movie starts, dude.
Nope. Horror movies start because someone ignores obvious danger.
Yeah, like never questioning the biggest science experiment in human history.
Oh my god. Are you done?
Almost, dude. Just one thing.
What?
If reality ever did change, how would you know?
I really did. Can you just hit the intro?
Wait, dude, the sponsor.
No sponsor today.
No sponsor, no ad, just buys, now we're back!
Then what was that?
I really have no idea. Jarvis glitched out or something.
I guess it wasn't really a sponsor. CERN strikes again, dude.
What?
Nothing. Welcome to the frickin' Witch Show, dude, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. My name's Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Witch Show. From what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Wow, that conspiracy Georgie, huh? That's a wild one. He makes some really good points, though. Or rather, I make some really good points. Anyway, welcome back to The Witch Show. I am always happy to have you guys back. Thank you for joining me every single Saturday. Your guys' views matter. Your opinions matter. So make sure you get in the comment section and you say something. Talk to me. I want to have these conversations. Get in on my Facebook. Get involved with The Witch Show. You will love it. We'll have great conversation. Maybe I'll pop up on a live on my TikTok some point. I don't know. Get in there. Let's do this together, guys. Let's make this happen. And you already know that if you post something that's insane and I love the story, I'm probably going to feature it on my show. It's going to be very nice. You're going to very like it. Very much. Very much. So with that being said, what if the Mandela Effect isn't failure of memory, but evidence of synchronization? What if millions of people didn't remember something wrong, but they remembered something from somewhere else? What if the reason it feels unsettling isn't because it's incorrect, but because it doesn't belong in this version of reality at all? What if another dimension doesn't look alien or advanced or glowing with strange technology? What if it looks unfinished, like hallways, offices, stairwells, and rooms that were never meant to be occupied? What if the backrooms don't feel fictional because they aren't imagined, but recognized? And what if that recognition is the brain reacting to something it was never supposed to encounter? What if people aren't getting lost in the forests the way that we think they are? What if they're disappearing in places that exist between destinations? Trail intersections, clearings, staircases with no purpose, areas where the land feels wrong. What if these places aren't random, but liminal? And what if liminal spaces aren't just psychological concepts, but physical weak points? What if those weak points exist naturally for thousands of years, rare, accidental, unpredictable, and people occasionally slip through them? And what if at some point humanity stopped slipping and started falling? What if the Large Hadron Collider didn't open a portal, but weakened a boundary? What if reality isn't a solid wall, but a layered system that can be stressed, bent, and destabilized? And what if once that boundary was disturbed, it didn't heal cleanly, but frayed? What if glitches aren't errors, but residue? What if missing people aren't lost, but displaced? What if the reason no one in power explains any of this isn't because they know exactly what's happening, but because they don't know how to stop it? And finally, what if the scariest part isn't that there are other places out there, but that we're the ones building the doors? What in the Stranger Things is happening in our world? Come on, man! Seriously, for this theory to even exist, one thing has to be true. And it is. Modern physics does not reject the idea of extra dimensions. In fact, many leading theories require them. CERN scientists have openly published work discussing hidden dimensions, parallel brains, and spatial layers beyond the 3 dimensions we experience. This isn't fringe science, it's mainstream theoretical physics. Freaking 11, we know you exist! All right. I know it's just Hollywood, but some of this is factual. This is like real stuff happening in our world. I feel like Hollywood is freaking taunting us right now. Like, hey, this exists, we know about it. Ha ha, here you go. And they made a freaking movie about it, and or not a movie, a freaking TV series, and it's great. It's a great TV show. But the craziest thing about it is, like, what if it's like just a loose base, like, or like it's real? Like, everything that they're suggesting is stuff that they've heard from somebody who heard it from somebody. Because come on, Hollywood, you guys are always working together. You guys are finding out about stuff that we don't know about before we know about it, and if we ever do know about it. I mean, look, we'll watch a freaking movie and then Google research shows us that actually happened. I mean, they don't even put based on true events on the freaking beginning of the shows anymore. That to me is freaking wild, but we are getting a little carried away here. So extra dimensions are used to explain why gravity behaves differently than other fundamental forces, why it appears so weak, and why it may be leaking into dimensions we cannot directly observe. The Large Hadron Collider was built to test the structure of reality at extreme scales. Its purpose is to collide particles at energies comparable to conditions just moments after the Big Bang. This matters because it means humanity deliberately recreated forces that shaped the universe itself. CERN did not claim it was opening portals or tearing holes into space, but it also never claimed that reality has no seams. Their own models describe spacetime as something that can bend, fold, and compress. And if dimensions are folded into another, then disturbing one layer doesn't require a doorway, it requires pressure. Physics already understand that boundaries don't need walls. Magnetic fields, gravitational walls, event horizons, these are borders without edges. You can cross them without realizing it until you've already passed the point of return. If extra dimensions exist alongside ours, they wouldn't be far away. They would be right here, compressed beyond perception. And when you inject massive energy into a system like that, you don't necessarily break it. You weaken it. You create instability. You introduce stress fractures in places that were never meant to flex. CERN has publicly acknowledged searching for signs of extra dimensions through missing energy, particle behavior anomalies, and mathematical inconsistencies. That matters because missing energy isn't something disappearing. It's something going somewhere else. And if energy can cross boundaries, the next uncomfortable question is whether information can follow, or matter, or consciousness. Because once a boundary is weakened, it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't glow or tear open dramatically. It leaks, quietly, in specific locations, under very specific conditions. And if reality can leak, then the question isn't whether something came through. It's how long it took us to notice the spaces it left behind. Do you remember the Backrooms? Well, the Backrooms didn't spread because they were scary. They spread because they felt familiar. Endless hallways, empty offices, flickering fluorescent lights, stained carpets, rooms without purpose, spaces designed only to be passed through, never lived in. These aren't alien environments, they're human ones, and that's what makes them disturbing. The fear doesn't come from monsters or danger, it comes from recognition. Your brain knows these places, even when it's never been there before. Liminal spaces are a real psychological concept. Architects, urban planners, and neuroscientists all acknowledge that transitional environments, hallways, stairways, waiting rooms, parking garages, they all trigger discomfort because they lack narrative. You're not meant to stay in them, you're meant to move through them. And when those spaces are empty, extended, or disconnected from context, the mind reacts with unease. Not because something is there, but because something is missing. What makes the Backrooms different from ordinary liminal spaces is scale and repetition. There is no destination, no exit, just transition after transition after transition. If another dimension exists alongside ours, not fully formed, not intended for life, it wouldn't look like a world. It would look like the infrastructure, hallways without rooms, stairs without purpose, spaces built to connect things that no longer exist. The backrooms don't resemble a place to live, they resemble a place between places. This is where the theory shifts. If CERN weakened a boundary rather than opening a door, then what bleeds through wouldn't be another civilization or another planet. It would be the transition geometry between realities. The connective tissue, if you will. The empty hallways of a structure never meant to be occupied by consciousness. And that explains why the backrooms feel wrong. They aren't hostile, they're just unfinished. The backrooms didn't feel invented, they felt uncovered, like someone stumbled onto a blueprint rather than a fantasy. And it matters because human imagination doesn't usually converge on the same space without a shared reference. But when millions of people respond to the same imagery with the same emotion, recognition instead of surprise, it suggests that the mind isn't creating something new. It's identifying a pattern it was never supposed to see. If reality has seams, then liminal spaces aren't just psychological discomfort zones. They're where the seams show, if you will. And once you recognize them, you start seeing them everywhere. Not because they suddenly appeared, but because you finally know what you're looking at. It's like when you buy a car and you start noticing every single one of them that everybody else has. You never really noticed them before, but now you're seeing them everywhere. Now, if reality were disturbed, if a boundary were weakened rather than shattered, the first thing it would break wouldn't be matter. It would be consistency. And that's where the Mandela Effect enters this picture. The Mandela Effect isn't just people remembering things wrong. It's people remembering the same wrong thing in the same specific way across different ages, countries, and cultures. Logos, movies, lines, historical details. Spellings, small changes, but identical ones. That uniformity isn't the problem. Memory errors don't usually synchronize. They scatter, but these don't scatter. They align. Psychology offers explanations for false memories, and those explanations are real. Memory is imperfect. It's influenced by suggestion, repetition, and expectation. But those explanations start to strain when the memories are emotionally anchored and shared at scale. People don't just vaguely misremember, they remember details, feelings, and context. And when millions of people experience the same discrepancy, the explanation shifts from individual error to collective inconsistency. If CERN weakened the boundaries between realities, then the Mandela Effect doesn't represent reality changing all at once. It represents overlap, like two nearly identical timelines brushing against each other. In that scenario, nothing dramatic happens. No alarms, no collapse, most things remain the same, but some details don't line up cleanly. Logos shift, name differs, geography feels off, not because reality broke, but because it's reconciled imperfectly, if you will. This is why the Mandela Effect feels subtle instead of catastrophic. They're not fractures, they're residue. Artifacts left behind when two versions of something attempt to occupy the same narrative space. And the human brain, which evolved to detect patterns and continuity, reacts instinctively when that continuity is violated. You don't panic, you pause. You feel uneasy. You say, that's not how I remember it. And you move on because there's no obvious danger to respond to. What's important is timing. The Mandela Effect didn't suddenly exist because the internet noticed it. The internet noticed it because it made comparison possible. Shared memory used to be local, now it's global. And when people start comparing notes, the inconsistencies surface. Not as proof, but as pattern. A pattern that fit disturbingly well with the idea of disturbed boundaries rather than a broken one. If the backrooms are what leaked through the cracks, then the Mandela Effect is what was left behind. Not a message, not a warning, just evidence that reality didn't always resolve cleanly after it's been stressed. And if that's true, then memory isn't failing us. It's remembering more than it's supposed to. For decades, search and rescue teams have documented disappearances that don't behave like normal missing person cases. These aren't crimes, they aren't animal attacks, they aren't people simply getting lost. The cases associate with missing 411 shared patterns that professionals notice but struggle to explain. Suddenly vanishing, no signs of struggle, no tracks, no scent trails, and bodies sometimes found in locations that had already been searched. Often uphill, or barefoot, or without injuries consistent with the terrain. What makes these cases unsettling isn't just disappearance, it's the behavior of the environment afterwards. Search dogs refusing to track, weather rolling in suddenly, silence where there shouldn't be silence, and then there's the stairs. Staircases in the middle of the forest, no buildings, no ruins, no record of construction, sometimes decayed, sometimes pristine, always out of place. These aren't internet rumors. They've been photographed, logged, and discussed quietly among search and rescue workers for years. Before modern technology, these disappearances appeared rare and accidental. People slipped, trails were unforgiving. Nature doesn't care. Weak points in reality, if they exist, were sparse, unpredictable, and easy to dismiss as tragedy. But something changes when you look at the timeline. Post-high energy experimentation, the patterns appear more frequent, more specific, and more tied to liminal locations. Clearings, trail intersections, staircases, transitional spaces where the environment itself feels unfinished. If boundaries were naturally thin in certain places, then humans occasionally falling through them makes sense. But if those boundaries were weakened, stressed rather than broken, then those rules change. Disappearances stop being random. They become location-based, pattern, connected. People aren't slipping through cracks anymore. They're encountering doorways, and doorways don't need to look like portals. They just need to be places where reality doesn't fully agree with itself. Because survivors who are found often describe missing time, confusion, and sense of being somewhere else without being able to explain where. Children report being guided. Adults report sudden silence after feeling watched. Not threatened, just observed. These aren't stories told for attention. They're told reluctantly, after years later. Usually prefaced with, "I know how this sounds." And that's the point. Whatever is happening doesn't announce itself. It doesn't leave dramatic evidence. It removes people cleanly, without noise, without violence, without explanation. And if the backrooms represent the spaces between realities, then the missing 411, well, it may represent what happens when a person crosses into one without realizing the door was there. Because once reality has weak points, it doesn't matter whether you believe in them. They still exist. So when you stop treating these like separate mysteries, something uncomfortable starts to emerge. CERN represents unprecedented pressure on structures of reality. The backrooms resemble unfinished in-between architecture. The Mandela Effect reflects inconsistencies left behind after something shifted. And the missing 411? It involves people vanishing in places that felt transitional rather than hostile. None of these prove anything on their own, but together they stop looking random. Patterns don't require intent. They require repetition. Liminal locations keep appearing. Hallways, stairwells, trail intersections, clearings, abandoned spaces. Places meant to be passed through, not occupied. These are where people report unease, missing time, disorientation, and disappearance. And that matters because if reality has seams, they wouldn't form in stable places. They'd form at edges, in transitions, in spaces without clear purpose. If extra dimensions exist alongside ours, and if high energy experimentation weakened the boundaries between them, then reality wouldn't collapse. It would degrade quietly. Not chaos, not leakage, geometry bleeding through, memories failing to resolve cleanly, people crossing thresholds without realizing they've done it. And the most unsettling part is that none of this required malice. No one had to mean for it to happen. CERN didn't need to open a door, only stress a system that was already layered and fragile in the first place. Once a boundary is weakened, the reason doesn't matter, because doors don't need to be opened intentionally. They only need to be noticed. If this theory is wrong, then these events aren't just coincidences unsettling, but harmless. But if it's even partially right, then reality isn't something we just live in. It's something we interact with, something we can stress, distort, and unknowingly reshape. The scariest idea isn't that other places exist, it's that we didn't discover them. We exposed them. The spaces people disappear into aren't foreign worlds, but transitional ones. Hallways, stairwells, rooms between destinations, places never meant to be noticed, now hiding in plain sight. If boundaries were once thin and rare, then people slipping through them was accidental. But once those boundaries were weakened, slipping became falling, random became patterned, and accidents began to feel like doorways. Not doors you see, but doors you feel. Places where the silence is wrong and the place feels aware. And maybe that's why there are no warnings. Not because anyone is hiding the truth, but because you can't close a door you can't see, or mark, or thresholds that move. So the question isn't whether other realities exist. Physics already allows that. The question is whether we've made them easier to reach. Because if places people disappear to aren't fictional, and if the doors aren't natural, then the most uncomfortable truth is this. We didn't open the doors on purpose. We just stopped noticing when we built them. As always, this is The Wit Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes it a sense. My name is Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Wit Show, from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Wit Show.
Cool story, bro.
Okay, I'm officially done. That's enough existential dread for one episode.
You say that every time, dude.
No, I mean it. I'm going to bed. I'm not thinking about hallways or stairs or dimensions or, I don't know, whatever the hell that was.
You sure, dude?
Yes.
Because you've been really quiet since the stairs part.
I'm not quiet. I'm processing like a normal human.
Normal humans don't stare at the floor like it's about to open.
Stop. I don't believe we're falling through reality. I don't believe CERN broke the universe, and I definitely don't believe there are invisible doors hiding in random places.
Good.
Good?
Yeah, belief doesn't seem to matter much anyway, dude.
Yeah, that wasn't funny.
Yeah, that's because I wasn't joking.
You always joke.
Yeah, dude, most of the time.
So what? Now I'm just supposed to walk around scared of hallways?
No, just stop in the middle of one.
I freaking hate you.
You love me, dude. I ask questions so you don't have to.
Yeah, and if you're wrong?
Then this was just a story.
Okay, and if you're right?
Then keep walking.
All right, let's get out of here before you ruin my sleep completely.
You got it, dude. Hey, Jarvis.
Yeah, Jarvis, save us.
Hit it, dude.
Lights some overhead, yellow walls won't end. I swear I've been here before, but I don't know when. Maps don't match the memories in my head. Reality buffering, stuck on red. They said don't worry, just fall in line. Trust the signs, ignore the signs. But every hallway feels stretched too long, like I missed a step and kept walking on. Logos change, but they swear they didn't. I remember it different, so did millions. If I'm wrong, then why does it feel like something rewrote what used to be real? Just keep walking, don't stop now. Doors don't knock, they find you somehow. If the floor feels thin, don't look down. You're not lost, you slipped out of bounds. Just keep walking, lights flicker slow between the places we're not supposed to know. If the silence hits, don't make a sound. Just keep walking now. Just keep walking. Stairs in the woods, leading nowhere. Search dogs freeze like the air ain't there. Missing time, shoes left behind. Found uphill, yeah, explain that line. They say it's chance, they say it's fate, but patterns don't lie when they repeat this way. Pressure on the seam, something gave. Did we crack the wall or just scratch the pain? Energy gone, but it didn't vanish. Had to go somewhere, yeah, let's be honest. If the door was weak and we hit it hard, don't act shocked when the pieces are scarred. Just keep walking. Just keep walking, don't stop now. Doors don't knock, they find you somehow. If the floor feels thin, don't look down. You're not lost, you slipped out of bounds. Just keep walking, lights flicker slow between the places we're not supposed to know. If the silence hits, don't make a sound. Just keep walking now. Just keep walking now. Just keep walking now. What if wrong is just out of phase? What if gone means someplace else? What if halls were never meant for standing still, Just keep walking, don't turn back. Always bend where timelines crack. If it feels off, yeah, that's the sign. You cross the